Omni-bus to Miscellanea. I'm Cyber and I'll be your overseer today. Before we get started, if you like what we do, please share with your friends and family. Word of mouth goes a very long way in helping us reach a wider audience, grow a community, and especially helps all those who've worked on each episode. Additionally, we want to extend an invitation to join us on Patreon. Your subscription will not only provide us with the resources to continue creating the content you love, but will also grant you access to exclusive perks like our first tier at $1 with a 7-day free trial. You're able to submit your stories for consideration. Our $5 tier, you get a shout out, ad-free episodes, and sometimes vote on the next episode to release. We understand that not everyone's able to support us in this way, and we appreciate all forms of support, whether it's through sharing our work, engaging with our content. With all that being said, our next stop, a melancholic introspective. A poignant solitude embraced. Written by Kelsey and Wacker. 115, Mohegan.
I have a ghost in my house. I think. My husband. I think. I'm tapping loudly on my computer. I do everything loudly now. I bang open cabinets, slam drawers, pound my fuzzy slippers heavily on the ground to let the ghost know I'm here, to warn him of my presence, because it's when I'm sneaking that he finds me. This house aches. I ache. That kind of rich people ache. A clean, hollow, Hitchcockian ache. A whistling ache. The wind rips right through you. I know because I've been both. A poor person's ache feels damp, heavy, waterlogged. The wind can't rip it. Nothing can. I inherited this house, and ghosts aren't the only things I've inherited with it. Brown widows? Me. Brown recluses? Also me. Spindly, creepy, crawly, heat-seeking things, determined to share my life, to take refuge from the doldrums of our island's winter tantrums. I've been alone here for a year and a half, but still, every time I flip on a light switch to reveal a fat centipede skitter under my bed, or a gilt-edged silverfish looking up at me from the clawfoot tub, hot terror catches me. All creatures I somehow never remember seeing while my husband was alive. Sometimes I wonder if the house is really mine or if it was always theirs. With the ringing absence of my late husband's stewardship, it is changing hands, being returned back to the land, and the original owners are finding their way in through the cracks. Foundations loosening, spirits and bugs, welcome. Looking at me, you wouldn't think I'm the type to be haunted by the ghost of a husband who can't move on. And yet, I fear that is exactly what is happening. It's a little flattering, really. At 38, I've kept up pretty good. Mainly my hair. It's a little brassy from decades of blonde bottle dye, the ends crispy and straw-like. But I have not yet succumbed to that short haircut women fall victim to at my age. The haircut of a woman disappearing. A certain time of year, I sport a rich golden tan, but a lifetime of beach bumming with no sunscreen has taken its toll. My face dotted with faint patches and lines, settlers upon this land, seizing it and claiming it as their own. I got the skinny legs of a teenager, of a sandpiper's, nearly invisible, scurrying away from the crash of the shore, but my top half resembles that of a dumpling, storing all my softness at my center, with heaving breasts like overripe fruit. My thinness radiating out, trying its best to stretch away, to defy the pull of a centrifugal dough ball force. I've small brown eyes, almond-shaped and light, like watery coffee with shiny hazel flecks. Big, full lips, and a flat ass. A few tattoos. From over the years. Maybe a few more than I'd like, but they prove good conversation starters anyway. I'm regular white, but don't always look it. No one knows why. A Portuguese granddad on my mom's side, I've heard. But like most family lore, probably meaningless. I pad my way down the spiral staircase that dizzyingly dumps me at the door. Coming down! I elongate the syllables like I'm trying them out for the first time. March on the coast is unnerving. Block Island has abandonment issues. She shivers and forces you to love her. Once the tourists and second homers pack up at the end of the summer, she gives her chosen ones 60 days of pure pleasure, reigniting their shaken faith, devilishly drawing them in, captivating them until they become captive. Blinded by her piercing beauty, her golden September afternoons, her sweet loganberry harvest, the best of her treasures save for the most loyal, her October plenty, her blazing red leaves and edible purple skies, her bright salty mornings and crab boil nights. She wraps you in her arms so tight that come November you can't breathe. You're being choked. Her thrashing waters, a bride in hysterics. She cries, "Why does everyone leave me? Why can't they stay when I need them most?" The storm of her petulance tiring even herself out. Then her loneliness turns punishing. "I love you. Don't leave me. Prove that you love me. Prove you won't ever leave. If you truly love me, take my choppy seas and caustic winds. Take my blistering freeze, my cavernous hollows, until summer when growing fat off the adoration of mere strangers." She turns her sun gaze away from the ones who steadied her in her bleak fit of winter. Bitterly, we blame the trampling tourist, you know the kind, throwing his money around and leaving. But deep down, every new Shoreham resident understands if we sit still within ourselves, our ire is misplaced, and our woman chose someone else to shine on. We are back in competition with the handsome drifter. So, March. March on the island is as sapless as it is serpentine, as dull as it is aching. Call it cabin fever, call it winter blues, call it anything other than what it is, a desire to leave. My marriage to Jordan was fine. Really, we loved each other in a way that is truly underrated. A love balanced on the scales of you don't acknowledge my flaws and I won't acknowledge yours. We supported each other and stayed out of each other's way. The sort of love that has fallen out of fashion now. The kind where I didn't work and I was fine with that. The kind where you both get what you asked for, then realize you both asked for the wrong thing, but you stick with it anyway. The kind where we never wanted kids because we never wanted to rouse such strong feelings, even for each other. We did have a dog named Chester, and we loved him a medium amount. So it's strange that now that Jordan's dead, he wants me so bad. I swipe my keys off the hook and zip up my coat, a big puffy one I found in the attic, forest green with a khaki collar. I smooth balm from the pocket over my chapping lips. I feel like he's watching me, even now. "I'm going out," I yell into the stagnant air. The door chimes as I slink from the pitiless ashen afternoon into the dark bar, warm and humming, the belly of the whale. I sidle up and in the mirror catch myself flipping my hair to one side and over my shoulder with wanton flair. I'd been a waitress all my life. Well, my previous life. My pre-Jordan life. Since I was 14, I worked the road in every summer, wearing white t-shirts that read, "Rode hard and put away wet." That's where we met, actually. He was a city boy, Boston. Invested some capital in a few of our local dives along the coast. Degree in finance, the whole bit. Did a good job, really. Not overbearing, not trying to class it up, corporatize us. There were popular little joints, so he wasn't trying to fix what wasn't broke.
"Want some oysters, cat? Oat just came in."
Trish stood comfortably, some rags in hand, her red hair gelled back into one severe ponytail. "Nah, I'm okay,"
"Car's out back,"
she says, her back to me. Her knees crack as she squats down, pulling Sharpie-dated cork containers of soupy red cocktail sauce out of a lowboy. I try to sound casual, like I'm not quite sure why she'd be telling me where Kai is. "Oh, okay." Kai was my weakness. Is now and always will be forever. Amen. The broad, thick chest of a working man, Sea gray eyes and the touch of someone whose presence is so crushing he had to learn the hard way how to handle the delicate things he loomed over. Hapless and unpolished, but careful. A hearty grin when he'd give it. I fidget with my wallet while Trish slides me a Sam Adams.
Put that away.
She scolds. Thanks. I smile sheepishly. I put a coaster over my beer after the first sip and fish a pack of cigarettes out of my pocket. Behind the restaurant I hover. My plan is to wait for him to say something first, to happen upon me.
Cat, heads up.
It's Tony, my favorite pint-sized maniac, unloading ingredients from the back of a box truck with feverish irregularity. I look in the direction of his voice and he lobs an industrial bag of sea salt at my head. I dodge it just in time. It puts out my cigarette. What the fuck, Tony? I yelp.
You'll live.
He responds lightly as I fumble with my lighter.
So, having a drink?
He asks, candy-coated in envy. He slaps one commercial kitchen-sized vacuum-sealed pork loin over each shoulder and hops off the truck, his knees buckling ever so slightly. I nod, taking a long drag.
You can have that, by the way. It's expired.
His eyes are wide and throaty, an old-fashioned New England accent stuck around his tonsils. What do you think I'm gonna need a 5-pound bag of expired salt for? Tony yells, forcefully rolling his eyes.
Your driveway!
Always trying to provide for the helpless widow. I jab back with over-measured precision and pitch-perfect volume, aimed just so at the back of the truck, hoping Kai can hear. Just then, Kai emerges, hauling clams, headed for the walk-in.
I could think of something else to do with a, helpless widow.
He breathes, brushing my coat with his crooked elbow. The air between us sharpens, and my unfortunate first thought is, Jordan. Damn it. I might need this salt after all. Amid the dregs of winter, having no job and a dead husband, I found I left the house less and less, which meant I rarely saw it from this angle. I pull into the driveway and idle, craning my neck up. It's impressive. Built in 1888, it's a classic example of the Victorian style of architecture known as Queen Anne. Nantucket blue with white trim and cranberry-stained accents. 3 sweeping stories embraced by a wraparound porch with turned posts, decorative brackets, and spindlework. Its asymmetrical facade gives it the character of a person. Showing some things off with a flourish of Dutch gables and concealing others, the way we do. Its most prominent features on display, like stories we tell over and over at parties. Its second-story balcony almost pouts with a disuse, sagging slightly under a proud polygonal turret, dramatically built on a series of bay windows. A final trumpeting declaration. I used to be someone. Something. Not sure Jordan's parents were too thrilled when he left the house solely to me. But they retained the Boston assets, washed me out of their supper club hair, and I got to stay. Here. At home. The island of my teenage summers. And so did Jordan, apparently. I'm home! I bang and crash through the foyer. It's fucking freezing in here, I say aloud, the door slamming behind me. It is then I see it. 4 French doors helplessly thrashing against their frames in the wind. Cabinets in the kitchen all open. Whisks and muddlers violently askew on the floor. Umbrellas spilled from a shattering standing vase. Then a side-splitting howl as an angry gust of sea wind whips through the naked open channel that is now my house. Suddenly I kneel to the ground and weep. I give up. Why is he doing this to me? It didn't make sense. 1, he didn't die here, in the house. He died in a car accident a little over a year ago, in Providence on his way home from a lunch meeting. If people are going to haunt, they're usually going to do it at the site of their death. Stuck there, unwilling to move on, but unable to exist outside a loop, playing out their death over and over, trying to get it right this time. I know, because I've done my research. Had a psychic over here in November, a local woman with soft white hair piled on her head, an excess of earrings, and virtually non-stop chatter about angels. She refused to step beyond the porch, claiming she felt she wasn't invited by the house, until I reminded her I'm the one who invited her to make that $100 an hour she insisted on. So, she tells me, if your loved one turns into a ghost, a haunting, a spirit caught between planes, it is either because their death was untimely or their death was horrifically violent. Okay. Jordan was 49 when he died, so yes, too young. I mean, not 2 generations ago. That was a perfectly reasonable age to forever etch on a tombstone. His car accident, as tragic as it was, wasn't exceptionally horrific either. Just your average death. Pretty symbolic of a lot in Jordan's life. But he's not haunting a busy stretch of I-95. He's haunting me. He died in me. Somehow. And one more thing, she said, stopping me as her glasses fogged 1 foot out the door, her pale eyes growing paler. It could be unfinished business. That's C. The ABCs of haunting. Unfinished business. The unfinished business of what exactly? I loved him. I want to make that one thing clear. I did love him. I smile when I think about his jet dark hair, perfect in that boxy, side-parted Republican way, his brooding countenance, the sort of etched severity that promises trouble below. Except with Jordan, there was no darkness. He had no demons. That was just how his face looked. I miss his big vocabulary, that phone voice he reserved for business calls, the fake laugh he used on demanding restaurant patrons, or that easy way he fell asleep, every limb draped over mine. He was never vindictive, never looking for ways people could hurt him the way I do. Sure, maybe we'd been better off as friends, but we also wanted the same things. Comfort, this beach, cold beer, this house. Using Chester, the unruly dog, as an alibi to never visit his parents or sister. A medium-sized boat. Unfinished business felt so uncharacteristically romantic by comparison. My throat itches as I wonder if the unfinished business we had was in never loving each other recklessly, totally, always skating through life unannounced, never asking ourselves, isn't it supposed to be more beautiful than this? Now, I sweep up the broken vase and put the kitchen back together. It's the best I can do.
115 was written by Kelsey and Wacker, who you can find on writers.coverfly.com or Instagram at Kelsey and Wacker. Make sure to check out their other works like Kathy and Deb and Christmas, Florida. The narrator was played by Karen Laven. Something to note is that in addition to voice acting, Karen does stage and commercial work. She's a former newspaper reporter and featured writer, and author of multiple books. You can find Karen at KarenLaven.net, Facebook at KarenLavenAuthor, or X at KarenLaven. This episode was composed by Ethan Caldwell, who you can find on YouTube as at Chunky Chicano. The editor was Cy Nelson, who you can find on Reddit at Cy_Cyclone or Instagram at Cyber_Cyclone. The producers for this episode were Cy Nelson and Teddy BBBear, who you can find on Instagram at TDY_BBBear. All links and credits can be found in the description. As for our bus, you can always find a stop on the corner between somewhere and nowhere. Next episode releases March 25th. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay cozy. We hope to see you soon.